and gentlemen, welcome to episode 72 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. And tonight, I welcome a very veteran and iconic, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I'm so excited, I'm actually mush-mouthing my words. It is a very iconic and veteran voice actress. You may know this legendary lady's work from such franchises as Monster High and Ever After High as C.A. Cupid and Raven Queen. And many people may know her, and one of my favorite works that this legendary lady has done on Ed and Eddie as Mayy Kanker and Naz. In addition to being an iconic and veteran voice actress, she is also a multi-time award-winning voice actress, as she has won twice the 2015 and 13 Behind the Voice Actor People's Choice Award. In addition, she has also won the 2014 Behind the Voice Actor Video Game Award. And it's someone that I've always been a fan of since I was a 9-year-old boy. My guest at this time is Miss Erin Fitzgerald. Erin, how are you today? Welcome.
Thank you. That was amazing. What an introduction. Holy crow. I hope I can hold up to that. That was absolutely very kind.
Did my face turn blue in the face?
A little bit. Shades of purple. Yep. Well, just like both of these, actually. Shades of purple.
Well, I'm going to tell you that this is no ordinary episode. This episode is going to go full-blown canker. I love it. Now, before we get into the Ed and Eddie questions, I do have one. This is going to be your typical cliche question, and I ask this to every guest star I have, and that is, how did you get your first start into voice acting? Take me there.
Well, there's no such thing as voice acting. There's just acting. You either are acting in front of a camera, you're acting on a stage, or you're acting behind a microphone. So because there was no label as voice acting when I started, it was just acting, and you got an agent as an actor, and the agent got jobs wherever you could act. And so cartoons was meant for me because I was always a character actor. I mean, I've been a character actor since I was 3 years old, just always doing characters. I played characters. I used to act out all the characters I would see on TV. And then I started, in school, I took all the drama classes, and I tried to do plays, and I'd make my own plays, and I'd make everybody in the neighborhood be in my plays, and make my sister act. I made everybody act. And then, it just kept going, and theater, went to university to study acting, specialization, got a degree in acting, moved to the big city to get paid to be an actor. And so I did whatever you could do: beer commercials, television shows, movies, theater, live theater, and then cartoons, and then eventually video games started needing actors. So yeah, it just was a progression of an actor's life and career based in the media. That's just the way it is. If you want to be an actor, and you want to pay your bills, you take whatever acting gig you can. There are all sorts of different types of acting gigs, and cartoons and video games were just some of them.
Huh. Interesting. And I got to ask you too, as a long-time actress, are there any methods or preparations you do to help prepare for a role? And if so, what do you recommend?
I'm not for recording a role. That's not the preparation. The preparation is every day as an actor. If you're a character actor, your job is to create characters. So I use the Alexander technique, and I have a lot of exercises developed from the Alexander technique that I use to create my characters. I have hundreds and thousands of characters that have their own names, their own bodies, their own everything. And then I take those characters, and those characters audition for auditions. And when those characters book jobs, because it's not me booking the jobs, it's my characters booking the jobs, then I go to work, and I am that character on the job. But the real work is the process that I do at home, creating the characters. My characters are always performance ready. They say, 95% of this job is the preparation, 5% is the actual performance.
Now, when you prepare for a role, though, do you think to yourself at home, okay, this is the character. Let me get into this. Let's get into his head.
No, you don't get that kind of preparation for cartoons and video games. Very rarely do they give you the script in advance, although on occasion they do. And the companies that give you the script in advance, you're really lucky. But even if you get the script in advance, you don't get to talk to the producers or the directors until you are on the job on the day. So you can't fill your head with all sorts of things for the character, because when you get there, they may change all of it. So you have to be an open book. Ideally, if you audition for the character with a character, I mean, I've auditioned for jobs with a character front that I've created, shown up to the job and had the producers say, we actually don't want this character. We were hoping you could give us another one, a different one. So they were just hiring me as the actor. And so I had over prepared the character I used for the audition. And it was really hard for me to drop the character I had prepared to pick up and pick a different character. So I have learned on this job, you cannot over prepare something before you show up and talk to the directors and the producers, because you don't know what they want until you are in the room with them. So all I can do is I try to prepare as many different characters as possible. A lot of the time I don't have a script to go off of. So honestly, it's just showing, I mean, this job is a lot of improvisation. You have to be ready on the dime. So you can't go deep with the script. You're not talking to the writer or the director or the producer. The reason you can prepare like that for television and film and theater is because you're talking to the director, the producers, all throughout the process before you even show up on the day. If you know the directors and the producers are calling you and you're having conversations and you're in rehearsals before you show up, you're ready and locked and loaded when you show up. You don't get that for behind the mic acting. You don't get any preparation. It's show up and do the job, which is why actors behind the mic are a very specific type of actor. And usually theater actors do really, really well behind the mic because we have the chops of being able to change things last minute and adapting and definitely improv actors who are used to creating characters on the fly, dropping yourself into the scene, committing to the scene 100%. There are jobs where I show up and not only did I not get the script in advance, but they only gave me one take. So I'm cold reading a script as a character for the first time ever. And that one take is the take that ends up in the video game. So this job pushes you to the hilt of the only preparation you can do is creating believable characters that you know so well that it doesn't matter what they say, you will be that character and you will drop yourself into the scene, whether you have read the script or not.
Oh, I see. And I gotta ask you too, from an actress perspective, though, and this is a question I ask all actors and actresses, like, well, what is your like with acting? I'll give you an example though, like I believe like in order to tell a great story, and you're an amazing storyteller, like what you do on Ed and Eddie, like the way you told the story as Naz and May Kanker, like the Valentine's Day episode is a perfect example of that, and we will talk about that very soon. Let me give you an example though, like if we like you and I were two actors and actresses, and we had to do a scene where your character had to like our characters got into a heated argument to tap on or to cap on to raw emotion. And the person says, "Excuse me, Miss Fitzgerald," and this person respects you so much that they call you Miss Fitzgerald. Excuse me, Miss Fitzgerald. There is a scene where our characters have to get into a heated argument, and I know it's going to sound very weird for me to say, but I need you to make me cry for real because there's no way I can fake a cry. So if an actor told you, "I need you in character to lay into me like a mother is yelling at a son," how would you react to that approach? Like, what would be your reaction?
Well, that doesn't happen in voiceover at all. That happens a lot in theater and television and film. Um, I wonder why that doesn't happen. Well, I guess because cartoons, it's very rare that you take things to that degree. Video games, you're not in the room with another actor. So you don't get the performance of another actor to help you get to where you need to be emotionally, which is really hard. It's really hard. Like the amount, like even just 2 weeks ago, I had really dramatic scenes, a lot that it was a lot of loss for the character, and so I didn't have the actor across from me delivering me the performance that I would need to get there. So the job of an actor behind the mic, because you're not going to get it from another actor most of the time, it's up to us to imagine we're already there. I have to imagine there's no microphone. I have to imagine a 365-degree scene. I have to imagine who I'm talking to very clearly. I have to imagine in my imagination what they are saying to me. And I have to imagine that they're saying it in a way that's going to make me feel the way I need to feel. I have to do the work myself in my creative imagination. I have to know where I am, who I'm talking to, and what I want from that person. And that way I can get myself emotionally to where I need to be. It's nobody else's responsibility to get me to where I need to be than mine. A good director will help set the scene and to give me even more information about where I am, what I'm doing, and what the history is between me and the character I'm talking to is. But sometimes they don't know because they're still working on the script. So in acting behind the mic, the improv skills of being able to create a scene for yourself immediately to get you emotionally where you need to be as the character, because what I would cry over, my character may not cry over, depending on who the character is. Like what Mayy Kanker would cry over is different than what Naz would cry over. Both of them are totally different people. So you have to create in your creative imagination who your character is talking to that would make your character feel that kind of way, and you have to get there yourself. That's the job. Now, if you're lucky enough, like in cartoons, where you get to be in the room with other actors, it is absolutely like, man, like that feels spoiled now in voiceover, where you get to be in the room with actors and you get to feed off of what they're giving you. There is nothing juicier that, like, you don't have to ask me to get anywhere. Really great actors will give you everything you need for your character to get wherever they're supposed to go. And you can, the reason they call directors directors and not correctors is because there's no wrong choices. So if the actor in front of me delivers something in a very kind of like angry, pissed off way, and I have a defensive reaction, that feels natural. But maybe on take two, that actor feels something totally different. Maybe they feel removed and sad, and that's going to make my character feel a totally different way. Those are just different directions you can go in. Directions are just different paths. They're not wrong choices. There's no such thing as a wrong choice when you're acting. There's only different directions. That's why that's why exploring with other actors is really fun. And you never want to decide how you're supposed to feel before you deliver a scene. That doesn't seem authentic to me at all, because I don't know what my character is going to feel until that actor says their line however they feel in that moment. And it's the reason it's a craft is because you can't prepare your performance. Our job in rehearsals, when doing theater and when doing film, is to get our head out of the way. Our job is to be the character so authentically that Erin is no longer in the building and the character is making all the choices. The character is feeling all the things. And then I'm so removed that the character can go any way they need to go. And the first take may be different from the second take, may be different from the third take. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's never going to be the same performance twice. Even if it is in the same emotional pocket, the way the emotions come out from take to take are always going to be slightly different, because it's a living art form. It's living. So I love working with other actors. There's nothing I love more than other actors, because it feeds my characters. My characters just explode with joy knowing that they don't, I mean, half the work is done. If I don't have to use my creative imagination to imagine everything, I am on vacation at work. You know what I mean?
Oh, yep.
Because I'm so used to having to create everything, create who I'm talking to and where I am and what my character is feeling. But it's all in here, right? So I love it when there's another actor that shares in that joy, and then we can. I mean, I can play there are so many projects that I'm in where things that were not even in the script end up in the show, because the actors, we were just playing off of each other organically, and it just exploded into something gorgeous and living and alive. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So like when you are in character, you're like, okay, Erin has just left the building. Now it's time for Naz and Mayy Kanker to make their presence known.
Yeah, I put on their meat suit. It's like cosplay, but with entire characters.
And you really did play some awesome. You played like a lot of awesome characters. So like Naz, it has this like laid back, hey dude, like relax, man. And then and of course you got Mayy Kanker, who's obviously the main antagonist of the show, but she's actually the most sympathetic of the Kanker sisters.
Kanker sisters, yeah.
Lee is the most vicious one. Then you got well, she's the leader. And then you got Marie, who is the vicious one of the group, and then you got the Mayy, who is the happy one of the group.
Yeah. She just wants to do whatever her sisters are doing because she just likes to be with her sisters and she loves boys.
I will say one thing, Erin, though, you have this incredible gift. You can make a 32-year-old man, and then after watching Naz and May Kanker, make them feel like they're 9 again.
Oh,
You have that.
what's with the styling clothes? Customer Appreciation Day at the candy store, and they're giving away jawbreakers for free.
Just don't tell Kevin.
Dork.
I definitely gotta ask you. Well, this is gonna be a dork me asking this question though. When I'm not on a strict military, well, no, I'm not gonna say military, but when I'm on a strict diet, I am an absolute foodie. And I gotta ask you this too. Which animation company that you worked with had the best catering scene?
Hmm. Well, to be honest, Storybots, the crew on the Storybots set, when we did Ask the Storybots series, before Netflix bought it and it was Jib Jab that just was producing the episodes themselves, they brought in the best. Not only did they bring in the best food and they ordered the best lunches, but we had a really decent long lunch hour, which was really lovely. I loved the food they brought in. That was great. We recorded at Village Studios, so really it was Village Studios that provided the food. They were great. I like them. And Salami Studios holds up to their name because they always had the bacon and the salami. Yeah, Salami Studios is definitely one of my faves. They always had tasty food and goodies. I really appreciate the effort and the love that went into making sure we had food because it takes a lot of energy to do this. And since COVID, those spreads don't exist anymore. Like there's no food on the table anymore. I mean, that's not a thing anymore because I guess we don't want anybody to get sick. So, but I miss those days. It was glorious when we had food on the table. It was really, really nice.
We mentioned earlier in the top of the program, your Raven Queen and CA Cupid, memories of working on Monster High and Ever After High.
Oh, I loved working on Monster High. I started on Monster High playing boop boop boop, Abby Abominable and Spectra Vondergeist, and eventually Rochelle Goyle, Scara Screams, Fawn, Claire, CA Cupid, and CA Cupid ended up in Ever After High. And Claire, the human in the Halloween special from Monster High, she was the inspiration for Raven Queen, actually. So I got cast for Raven Queen because of Claire. Yeah, that was such a special number of years. Like it was such a special project going from a web series to all these movies to the dolls blowing up and just the fandom. The fandom was amazing, but it was the message behind the stories that were being told. And I give all that credit to Audu Payton, who was the guy in charge at the time for at least the first the really successful years of Monster High. He was the guy in charge, and he hired amazing writers who told amazing stories about like it felt like edutainment. You like it was such a social understanding of the pulse of what was going on and how people want to be accepted for who they are. And it was just really gorgeous. It was such a gorgeous project to be a part of, and I was just so grateful for the time that I did get to work on it. And yeah, I consider these characters my babies, and I think Cupid's over here. There's Cupid.
I have that in my background too.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm partial to the Monster High design of Cupid more than the Ever After High design because I just like the monsters, I really do. But I really loved Raven Queen because she was as close to my own natural placement. So Raven was she's my heart, right? She was just, I am Raven Queen, daughter of the evil queen, and I choose to write my own destiny. I loved her story, her mission. I love her wanting to break free from family karma and wanting to just express herself and find out who she was. Like it was juicy. All of it was so juicy. Yeah.
And do you prefer playing the villain or the hero? I think I know the answer to this question.
Okay. Okay, hang on. She is a love ball. This one here, Bo. She is an absolute love ball, and I adore her. She is a psychotic monster, and I adore her. They would never meet each other. Wait. They would never meet each other, and yet they both come out of me.
Oh boy.
They're glorious in their own ways because Bo is pure love and Genocide Jack is pure murder.
And I gotta ask you too. You also did you did some live action work, so I just want to get your thoughts on filming. And I could be wrong on this, but I think it was your first acting role, and I could be wrong. But the 1994 movie Storybook.
Storybook?
Yeah. From what I read, it was like you played a role in this 1994 movie.
Storybook? What did I play? I don't remember that. You would
Okay,
think I would remember. I remember all of my on-camera stuff. I don't remember Storybook.
I'll send you after this interview. I'll send you who you played, according to the credits. According,
Well, according to the credit, maybe it was a different Erin Fitzgerald.
maybe.
Because 1994, I was still in university.
Oh, okay. Maybe that was just a slight error. But you worked on Sailor Moon, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
not in the 90s. I worked on it in the 2010 something or other.
And you played Countess Rose, right?
Played Udiel.
Yo. Countess Rose.
I played okay, so for the Sailor Moon series, the reboot of the series, not the original series, but the reboot. I played a lot of the bad girls like a lot of the bad girls. They kept bringing me back as different evil nemesis, and they murdered me like every episode. And I was always a different, like I have a long credit list of nemesis in the Sailor Moon series. Which was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, I'm back again. Oh, I'm evil again. Oh, I die again.
That's awesome. It is so.
It was awesome. I did enjoy it.
They just so all your characters are basically like, oh, we're gonna kill. Like was it you
Yeah.
getting killed or was it your character killing them?
No, I never got it was Sailor Moon. They always got the bad guy.
Aw, why can't the bad guy
Yeah.
never win? You know?
I don't know. What was my now you got me thinking, what was my first on camera?
If
What
I
was
find
my
out,
first on camera?
I'll definitely let you know if I
What
find.
was my first oh.
Again,
Okay, I think I remember. I think I remember, but I'm not going to talk about it.
okay. I did say, Erin, I could have been wrong on that one.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Storybook. No, because I would remember. I remember all of my on-camera titles. It was less than a dozen, so it's easy to remember all the work I did. Because being on set was a lot of work, and you're there for 16 hours a day. I remembered. I was in Stargate. I was an extra in the Stargate series. That was
Talk about
intense
that.
and
Talk about that.
painful. Well, it was really rainy and cold in Canada, and we were all wearing loincloths. It was a nightmare. It was awful. I hated it. But yeah, and then I ended up doing the looping for the episode that I was extraing in, and so I was like, oh, there I am. So it was weird. Yeah, Vancouver production was strange. It was a really strange time. But yeah, I was on camera mostly in Vancouver. I did the X-Files. I remember doing the X-Files in Madison and the Net and Dead Man's Gun and yeah, beer commercials. Yeah, like that's
X-Files. I got X as a waitress, right?
yeah, it was just me and David Duchovny, and we had scenes together. Yeah, we had a
What was
yeah.
it like?
I couldn't understand a word he said because everything he said, because he mumbles to the mic, so he doesn't talk to you. So um, that was challenging, but he was a nice guy. We had a lot. That was the second time we met. So yeah, it was a fun.
Oh.
The first time we met, I was doing a live show called Tony and Tina's Wedding, and Tony and Tina's Wedding happens live as if it was an actual wedding. So we were in a restaurant. The show goes on in a it starts in a church. The whole cast in the audience walk to a restaurant, and then we have what looks like a wedding reception. So to anybody walking by, it looks like there's a crazy wedding reception going on, but it's an actual theater show. And the character I played, Connie at the time, she was pregnant, but she was also very alcoholic drug user. So by later in the play, I am very off my rocker. And there was a point in the play where my character is so messed up from all the alcohol and drugs she had been doing all night. She goes over to the bar, and so what happens, what the audience doesn't know, I go over to the bar, I look like I'm drinking, I'm actually taking some of the soup from the restaurant, putting it in my mouth, and then I'm going to go over to the table and pretend to vomit on a table. That's what happens in the play. Well, normally I go to the same spot at the bar in the restaurant every single night, right? And no, everybody makes sure that nobody's standing there when I have to go and get the soup and do the thing. And because I'm in character and I never know who is the audience, I have to be in character all the time, right? There's no off stage. So I go over to the bar and there is a dude standing in my spot. So I go over, and as Connie, Connie does not give a F. Connie went over and body slams him out of the way. So, what are you doing in my spot? You know, and I'm kind of out of it, and I'm kind of like, I'm really in character and in the moment for her. And as I'm taking the soup, I look up and I realize I have just body checked David Duchovny out of my blocking spot. Then he tried to have, and Connie just gave it to him. Connie was not having it. So on the day it's set of X-Files, I'm like, hey, do you remember going to a restaurant and there was like a show going on and somebody body slammed you? He's like, yeah, I remember that. I'm like, yeah, that was me. I meant to apologize for that. But I was in character and couldn't apologize for it. And so we had a good chuckle over that.
That's so cool and awesome. That was a great story, Erin.
I haven't told that story ever, I don't think.
Oh,
yeah.
bless your heart. I gotta ask you too, Erin. And this is where we're gonna talk about Edda and Eddie. We're getting to the Edda and Eddie questions now. And confirm this too. Like, and before I'm gonna ask the question, talk about your audition for Edda and Eddie, and were you always the original Naz? Talk about that.
Okay. So this is before we had internet. This is before we had laptops, or even really nobody had home computers. That wasn't a thing yet. Not really. So in order for me to audition, I had to get a DAT machine. I had to rent a DAT machine, and I had to record it on a DAT machine in my living room, like just on the floor. And I remember Brian Dobson came over, who big voice actor now, but at the time we were both unknown. Nobody knew. I mean, we were just actors, right? We were just actors in Vancouver. We did whatever we could do. And so he and I connected because we were both character actors, and we both, we were the whole Dobson brothers. Like the Dobson brothers and I were very close friends. Mike Dobson and Brian specifically, and because we were all character actors, so our characters would play with each other all the time. So Brian came over and we both recorded all of our auditions. I auditioned for everybody. He auditioned for everybody. We submitted. Oh. I didn't think I didn't know. It was my very first cartoon audition. So I didn't know if I was doing it right. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anything. I just, took some of my characters and threw them into the mix. And then I got a call back. I got a call back about a month later. So I went in, and I was a callback from Mayy Kanker. And so I went in, and it was a casting director. I met the casting director. We did the callback. And then like 3 months later, I got another call back from Mayy Kanker, and it was a different casting director. And so I went in, and so I think I went in like 2 or 3 times for these callbacks. And it was like over a 6-month process. It took and I assumed that I didn't book it. Like it was just easy to go, oh, they didn't hire me. They didn't hire. But I kept getting called back, and I'm like, well, that's nice. That's nice. That's encouraging as a new person in this field. I got a call back. Yes. And then I booked the job. In the first season. I was Mayy Kanker, and Tabitha St. Germain was Naz. But Tabitha's career that year was insane. She was blowing up. Again, there was no such thing as voice actors. We were all actors. We all acted on camera, on stage, behind the mic. We were taking acting jobs wherever we could get acting jobs. It was the 90s. That's what you do as an actor. You act. Like Matt Hill was on camera all the time. And so for the second season, like Tabitha had just done a huge theater production at the Vancouver McPherson Playhouse, which was the biggest theater in Vancouver, like sold out audiences. She's a huge actress. And so Naz barely spoke in season one. So when she had to look at her schedule of demands of like where she needed to be in all of these demands for all of these acting gigs, Ed and Eddie just didn't hold up. First of all, we didn't see the cartoon in Canada, so we didn't even know if it was a success or not. So we had no idea. And so for season two, she just backed out of the show because of her schedule, because she was, you know, booking like wildfire, and still is, because she is a goddess and she's an amazing character actress. She's a genius person. And so I was the only female actor who didn't have two roles at the time. And so Danny just had me double up because that's normal. You're used to playing from 1 to 3 characters as an actor. And because all the other 2 women had 2 roles, he had me step into Tabitha's role, and we you know, finessed Naz to a place that worked for both Danny and I. So yeah, that's it. That's how it worked.
Can I also tell you, like, as an adult, like, I didn't see it back then as a little boy, but before I say that, let me just say that in America, like, I can tell you for a fact, Ed and Eddie were huge, huge.
I heard later.
When
I moved to America, I got it. I didn't notice really until I went to America, and I'm like, oh, snap. This is a show. Okay.
And I'll never forget when Ed and Eddie first aired and debuted on Cartoon Network. I was a 9-year-old boy. I believe it was January 11th, 1999, when Ed and Eddie first made its debut. And the two.
Well, so did Cartoon Network. It was Cartoon Network's debut. It wasn't just our show's debut. That channel did not exist. It was a brand new channel. It was like everyone was losing their mind that there was going to be a channel playing cartoons 24 hours a day. That was my dream as a child. Like, you could not find a cartoon except for Saturday mornings. You know what I mean? Like, if there was a scrap of a cartoon in the afternoon, no matter how bad the cartoon was, I was watching it. And I watched a lot of garbage cartoons just because it was the only cartoon on TV right after school, right? So yeah, to have a channel 24 hours a day, that was unheard of. We were so excited, and then we found out that we weren't getting it in Canada. My heart was broken.
Yikes. And I remember the first 2 episodes that aired. It was the Ed Touchable and Nag to Ed, which was actually the Kankers debut episode.
Yeah.
One of my.
Yeah, I remember.
Before we talk about that episode, maybe I say to Erin that one thing I absolutely loved about what you, Erin, and Kathleen, you, Kathleen, and Janice did was play these 2 characters that sound nothing alike. And I was like, oh my word, Erin Fitzgerald, Janice John, and Kathleen Barr are true geniuses, because they can take 2 characters that sound absolutely nothing alike. Because, you know, like in voice acting, you have a voice actor, and sometimes they actually, you know, use the same voice, or they kind of sound similar to another. Like, for instance, Chucky and Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory and Chucky Finster from Rugrats kind of sound alike. But what you, Janice, and Kathleen did was take 2 different characters and make them sound totally different. And that's how excellent you 3 were. Because I would never.
Well, again, that has to do with character placement, right? So that's nothing to do with voice. You know, when you're being a character, if they're different characters, they feel different. Like if you're wearing the body of that character, 2 characters don't have the same body. They don't have the same vocal placement. And it's not something I'm consciously trying to do with my voice. It's just something that happens when I've got a different body on, period. The voice changes because the body changes.
You're a natural. I'm gonna say that you just have that natural charisma, and that's what makes me a huge fan of yours. Like, I just love the excitement and the personality. And speaking of that too, I want to get your thoughts and memories of working with, of course, Danny. And I hope I'm saying this correctly, Danny Antonucci.
Danny Antonucci he's God tier. He is God tier creator. What I love about Danny the most is his integrity. I've never met a creator with more integrity than Danny Antonucci. He knew going in, he negotiated a deal for himself in the show that no other cartoon got, even in that first year of Cartoon Network. He made sure he kept the rights to everything. He made sure that they didn't own him. He made the call of every season of everything, and he was always ready to walk. He was ready to walk every season if he didn't get to do what he needed to do for his artistry. And he made sure that our performances were exactly what he envisioned. Now, that was an example where there was definitely preparation and rehearsal for every single one of those episodes. We would go in, the eds recorded separately because they had a lot of dialogue. And so when we would go in, there would be these books, these thick storyboards of every frame of animation that was going to be animated. And we would go through the entire storyboard and read it with each other as our characters. So that was like a rehearsal. We would do a rehearsal with the images that we were going to be performing with. So we knew what the cartoon would look like. That doesn't happen very often. Storybots does that. I get animatics with Storybots, where we get to see a basic rough animation of what the episode is going to look like, so we can match the energy of the animation and we can work together. But it's not final animation. It's just like a rough kind of like pencil animation, just like a storyboard. And that makes it more collaborative, right? Because then it's both the artist and the voice actor and everybody working together. And Danny was really, really strict with that, which I loved, because it was my first cartoon, so I didn't have anything else. I mean, I only acted in television, film, and theater before, so I felt like characters that didn't look like me were definitely, my future, because I had 1,000 characters that I would never be cast as based on what I looked like. But what I loved was that Danny cut my teeth. Like there was a voice director, but Danny directed. Like we had a voice director, but Danny directed every episode. And if he wasn't satisfied with the take, you did that take until he was happy, which was great discipline. So he knew what he wanted. And I think that's why the quality of the show is so high, is because he didn't compromise and he never settled. He got exactly what he wanted, and we were all dialed into what was going on in his brain. And so that makes him just the ultimate artiste, right? Like was it difficult and challenging? Yes. But is difficult and challenging bad? No.
Not at all. And of course, working with the cast members of Ed and Eddie, your sister and love interest, Kathleen Barr. Then you got Denise John, then you got Tony Sampson, Vincent, you got Matt, and I gotta tell you, Matt actually emailed me. He wanted me to tell you to tell you hello, and he misses you, and hopes you're doing fine.
I heart him too.
But you guys had such great chemistry as May,
Yeah.
and I gotta say, I had him on the show 2 years ago, Matt Hill. And he was just fun. Like I'm doing an interview with you, just fun. Like we talked about how fun it was to work with the cast. He loved working with you, like when we had the Ed and the Kanker scene. Personally, I love that too. I always loved.
Yeah.
May was pretty much the female equivalent to Ed.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And also, Matt and I had great chemistry. We just always had, like, we did a lot of projects together outside of that show, and it just, like, we just had good chemistry. And when you have good, it's very rare to have performance chemistry like that with someone, and when you have it, you just know it's special. It's really unique and special, and because what it does is it allows both of you to shine in a way that maybe you don't with other people. It's a unique thing, and it is a real thing. When they talk about the cast has to have when two partners in a scene, whether it's a dance partners, or you want to have chemistry between the people. And Matt Hill and I definitely had chemistry in terms of performance together. Yeah.
Did you prefer when you and Kathleen Barr, and I'm a huge fan of I loved Kat Barr since she was on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show as Queen Rotunda.
She's a goddess. Oh, she's a goddess. She's a goddess.
Whatever happened to her?
She's still in Vancouver acting, I'm sure.
Okay. So
I'm sure.
I gotta ask.
She's still doing her thing. I know. I haven't seen her since I moved away in 2000, so I haven't seen her since 2007 when we wrapped the show. But yeah, she's a mama. She does theater. She did live theater, live performances, produced theaters, shows. I know she's still acting. I know she's probably still doing acting behind the mic. Like she's god tier, god tier.
Totally agree. Much like Janice John, that's one legend.
Yeah, they don't need to do social media because they're working enough in the universe that they live in.
Did you prefer dialogue between Kevin and Naz or May and Marie Kanker? That you paused.
I'm gonna say Kevin and Naz because my girl crush on Kathleen was pretty thick. Like I got to stand next to her and everything she did, like my girl crush on her was fierce. I mean, how can you not have a girl crush on Kathleen Barr? She was powerful and to work, she was already she was already so experienced in that particular field and I was so new. She made me feel normal. And I think my socks got pulled all the way up because I was standing next to her. And then I saw that she gave me the permission to be the actor that I was always supposed to be because I hadn't seen any other female character actors who could do what I do. And then Kathleen was already doing it and at master tier. And I was like, oh, this is who I am. I'm one of these. Oh, and so we just riffed off of each other constantly. We were cracking each other up every record session, crying, laughing, playing off of each other. And we got to do another cartoon together. We did Fat Dog Mendoza together, and she played Little Costume Buddy, and I played Piranha May. And that cartoon only aired in Cartoon Network UK. And that was, I know nobody saw that cartoon, but golly, that might be one of my favorite jobs ever. It was such a fun, great project. It was so funny, and Kathleen was so genius, just so genius. And I got to be her sidekick. It was she just yeah, I still have a crush on her. Yeah, that's real.
But you two were just awesome, and Janice too, because I actually had conversations with Janice too, and
yes, Janice. Oh, she's so stunning, and her singing. Oh my God, she's a singer. Like she's a singer. She's a singer.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you too, Erin. You've had so many memorable lines as both Naz and May Kanker. Did you have a particular favorite for any of the characters? Because I'll tell you mine after this.
Tell me yours. I can't pick a line. That's too hard.
Okay, there was an episode. I don't know the episode title though, and I'm usually good with episode titles. But it was Ed and Eddie go to this abandoned house, and it was a trap set up by the Kankers for them to marry them. And then they had these weird, like, wedding rings. Like, one was...
Yeah, we did.
The other one was a doorknob, and then the other one was, like, a gear, like a bolt gear. And then you're like, as A. Kanker, you go, with this ring, I do thee wed. And then Matt, as Ed, goes, duty?
With this ring, I do thee wed.
And he's like, duty? And I'm like, oh, this is too good.
I don't remember that line, but that is now my favorite line, because that's hilarious. That's hilarious. I love the episode for Naz when she babysat Eddie. That's my favorite episode with Naz, was when she babysat Eddie and he had to like that was I love that episode. Yeah.
Did you see? I mean, dude, I think it was a deleted scene though, but there is a deleted scene on Take This Ed and Shove It where they actually married. They're older now and like they're elderly, and they married the Kankers. And I think Tony, as an elderly Eddie, broke the fourth wall and said, "Miss Danny Eswanucci, can you please wake me from this dream?" It's like, this is...
I never saw that. That's amazing.
Oh, I gotta send you that clip though. It was really funny. I think they played it at a Comic-Con.
Oh, I love it. I was there at Comic-Con. Oh, maybe they did. I don't remember. It was 2007 when we went to Comic-Con, and it was a big deal. And we all kind of went, it was a shock to the system, and it was kind of gorgeous. That was like my first Comic-Con event where I was a guest, and it was amazing. That was an amazing year.
I gotta ask you, Erin, because I love the Kankers. I really think they enhance the show because they're the foil to the Eds and vice versa. They always win. Like, I remember the episode when Ed was telling jokes and then he became popular, and then the Kankers stole their money and they actually win in the end. And then there was an episode where they become wrestlers and they beat the out of the Eds. I gotta ask you, did you have a favorite particular Ed and Eddie one? Mine for me was the Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. Valentine's Day and Christmas episode, my two favorites.
Jingle Jangle. I forgot what the name
Yep.
it was, but I think the Valentine was Hanky Panky Holla.
Yep. Hanky Panky Hullabaloo. Yep.
I love that, and you were the main star because May Kanker was literally the main star of that episode.
She was in love with Double D, which was a betrayal to Ed, but good God, what a great to see May in love and it being requited for a change. Like that was, I really enjoyed that character exploration. Like that was like getting to stretch the character out into new areas, and it was such a beautiful. Yeah, I love that episode. I love it. I love it. Yep.
And it made me feel sympathy for May Kanker because
yeah,
she gets bullied.
You know that if she wasn't with her sister, she probably would have been a good girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the sisters that's influencing her.
Yeah. She was definitely the youngest, you could tell. And she just wanted to hang out with the two older, cooler sisters. So she had to do whatever they said in order to hang out with them.
Memories of filming that episode.
Yeah.
Did you have any particular memories of filming the Valentine's Day episode?
Well, you realize, like, no, I don't. It's okay. Too hard. So I can't separate because I had to fly up from Los Angeles. So I would fly up in the morning at 6 a.m., get to Vancouver, bus into the studio, record the episodes, bus back to the airport, and then fly back to Los Angeles at the end of the day. So those were really busy days for me. And so I would my goal was always just to be prepared and do my best. And so it was always overwhelming because we didn't record every month, right? It was like every few months. So every time I saw everybody, it was a reunion, and like emotionally, it was a lot. It was a lot. I remember, I don't remember my performances at all. When I'm being the characters, I don't remember. I do remember watching Peter Kalamis as Rolf across from me, and David Paul Grove as Johnny 2x4, and listening to I remember their performances because I was just an audience member to everybody else acting, and I can remember that because I was always trying not to blow their takes by laughing out loud. So I would have to hold my mouth and my nose because I'd be laughing so hard, like tears would be pouring out of my eyes, and I'd be waiting for them to be done so I can let it out. Peter Kalamis being the worst for making me die laughing because Rolf is insane. And glorious, and they're such talented actors, and I got to be in the room with them for 7-8 years, and it was so gorgeous. No, I don't remember the details of recording episodes. I remember the experience of being in the room with talented actors and acting off of their genius and letting myself be the characters that I became, and just I remember the process, because the process is everything. It's never about the final product for me. It's about being the characters and going through the process of finding a direction that works. I love the process.
The process is definitely worth the wait. And I gotta say too, you mentioned you try to be the best. I could say, Erin, you are the best. I remember when I first saw the first interview that I've seen, there's one interview that really made me think that Erin, man, she's such a genius and she's so charismatic. It was I remember
That's so sweet.
It was the documentary for the Ed and Eddie video game. And I remember it was you, Janice, and Kathleen talking about the process of making that video game. And you also they showed clips of you actually performing all 6 of your characters.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. And I was like, man.
That was fun.
I was thinking to myself, man, one day I hope to have Miss Fitzgerald. She's such a legend in the business. I love to have someone like her. The energy, the excitement, the way she told the story. It's like, man, this is awesome. This is why, one day I hope to be a voice, to be in the voice acting business.
Hey, good. Hey, look at you. You want to be an actor in the voice acting business. Nailed it, Peter. Love that.
Yep. Thank you. And
Good job.
I gotta ask you too, there have been so many episodes, and of course a movie in the 2009 Ed and Eddie Big Picture Show. Do you have your thoughts on that movie? And of course, this is the one time where the Kanker sisters were actually being cheered by many people because they beat the out of Eddie's brother at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the whole process. I remember Danny letting us know that he had been given the option by Cartoon Network to either do one more season of the show, or he could wrap the series with a feature film. Um, and he didn't want the show to die out in the way all shows die out, which is all of a sudden it's canceled, nobody knows what happened. He really wanted to give it a proper ending. So he went for the feature film, which was such a bold, like nobody did that at that time, right? Like everybody always chased the money. It was the 90s, you know? And he was like, again, his integrity and the art form wins out for him, and he wants to wrap it up. So already it's highly charged. It's highly charged with knowing that we have to make sure that we do this correctly for the fans, that it wraps up in a way that makes Danny proud, and it can hold the test of time. I mean, let's be real. The acting in the feature film is the cherry on the sundae. The real work was the artistry, the storyboards, the writers. Like the writers were genius. Like what they came up with for that feature was so god tier. It was just god tier gorgeous. And then getting to be our characters in such a developed state by then, like we've known them for over a decade by that point, and it the process was beautiful. I don't remember a lot of the performance at all because again, when I'm performing, I'm not in my body. I can't be myself and my character at the same time. So I didn't know what it would look like, but I remember watching the show, the movie, and just, you know, it was highly charged emotions. It was perfect. It was a perfect end. It was perfect.
I agree. It was a excellent end to a great series. I mean, and they were on this air for like 10 years. They went from 1999 to 2009, if you want to count.
Yeah. And at the time, they were the longest running show on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, you actually surpassed Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's actually a funny promo online where they actually had the Kanker sisters actually parody the Powerpuff Girls, like, and it's actually
I remember. I remember recording that. That was funny.
That was cool, and I always said that you like the Kanker sisters like are pretty much like they have the red, blue, and the colors,
yeah,
the green. So they're kind of like our Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, it was fun. It was some good days. Like we didn't know, you know, you don't know what you're in when you're in it, right? You're just working on it. It's just a piece of art. It's the fans that make it legendary. It's not us who make it legendary. It's the fans. It's the audience that decide whether something's legendary. I've worked on a lot of projects, and some of my favorite projects have never been seen by wide audiences and never got to legendary status. So it's amazing when something does, because you don't know as an actor what's going to hit and what's not. All you can do is your best all the time. And all I can do is remember the experiences and the process of every piece of art I get to participate in, whether it blows up and whether it doesn't.
That's understandable. And of course, you've done a lot of animated shows, and one of them, I believe, was Sabrina the Animated Series. That's
Oh, yeah.
Memories of any memories of working on that show? And
oh my God, so many.
Oh,
That was one of my favorite jobs of all time because it was the first time I was used as a utility actor. So I wasn't cast as a main character, but I was I don't know, out of 65 episodes, I think I recorded 52. So every time I showed up, I was like multiple characters. I was all the additional characters in an episode. So I got to hang out with the cast. I was recording with the entire cast. That's where I met David Sobolov. That's where he and I became friends. And we've had a career. Both of our careers have been side by side each other ever since. We both moved to LA, everything. But we were in Vancouver at the time. And we recorded every episode. And every episode, they just let me be all of these characters that I had created that never had a home before, because they didn't look like me, had a home in this series. So I got to do every character I had ever created, like mice, witches, like anything that was additional. And it was joyous. It was joyous. It was just, I felt with that show, whereas Ed, Edd n Eddy was more disciplinary for me and teaching me the industry and the technical aspects of character acting behind the microphone and all of that, and comic timing and working with genius actors. Sabrina the Animated Series brought out in me that my entire life up until that moment, now it made sense. Things that I didn't understand why I was doing all of, because I was always told I was overacting. I was overacting. I was too much. I was too big. I was too broad. Not for cartoons, I'm not. I'm not big in cartoons. I'm perfect for cartoons. I was made for cartoons, but I didn't know that because that wasn't a job when I was a kid. Nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about acting for cartoons. I thought Papa Smurf was a real person, kind of like Santa Claus. You know, I'm like, Papa Smurf, He-Man is He-Man. What are you talking about? So to be in this place where I wasn't limited by how I looked. I could be any character, any shape, any size, and I had them in me. Like I had all of these characters in me. It was a quickening. It was my quickening.
Huh. And you mentioned earlier too, and I'm curious to know more about this because you said you and Kathleen worked on the 1998 Fat Dog Mendoza. Talk about your memories of that show.
Loved it. It was genius. It was based on a comic book series, and it was genius. It was the funniest superhero show I have ever seen or heard of since. And it was just a bunch of ridiculous superheroes, like ridiculous superheroes. And it was the I wish that show could get attention and get rebooted, or it was genius. The comic writer was genius. The design of the characters were genius. The cast was chef's kiss, like gorgeous cast. And it was comedy at its best. It was like cartoon comedy at its absolute best. And and my character was when you meet her, she's really, really shy. But if there is any sort of adrenaline fueled anything, she goes from really, really shy to psycho excited in an instant. So she will be like, yeah, what are you doing, costume buddy? What are we gonna? We're gonna go kill the guy! You know, like less than a second. And so that was perfect for me. She was the perfect like explosion of psychotic, like ADHD 101. And she was a glorious character.
Yeah.
I loved being Piranha May. And if you follow me online at all, you'll notice that my online moniker has been Piranha May since then.
That's so
So
cool.
I always have her with me. Always. She was a big deal to me, even if the show wasn't.
She's one of your babies.
She's one of my babies. Exactly. And my babies stay my babies for the rest of my life.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's like a mother with their own baby.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, and tell me if I'm saying this wrong here, like the pronunciation of the show, but you were also on Naruto.
I pronounce it Naruto.
Naruto. Sorry.
Naruto. That's okay. But a lot of people say Naruto, so I don't. I'm just going based on what the people at work say.
And
Naruto.
And you played Takiwa and Sano. Memories of doing that show.
I played Gurren first. Where is she? Is she on there? Where is she? Oh, there she is. I played Gurren first. There was Gurren. And she had a great story arc, and I remember because Mary Elizabeth McGlynn directed me, and she's an amazing director. And that was a really great story arc. And then, yeah, I remember the other characters. Actually, not just the two characters later. There was like, and then even later there was more. Like I've actually played probably 8 or 9 characters in that series, but I didn't write down all their names, so I don't remember. So yeah, it happens. And then also in Boruto as well. So I can't remember which characters were in Boruto. I can't remember which ones were Naruto. I can't, But yeah, it was always I mean, dubbing is different. Dubbing is much faster. I remember Gurren because the story arc was so long, and I got to go in for multiple records. But for the other characters, there wasn't a lot of record sessions. So when you're recording all week, every week for multiple projects, it's really hard to. You don't remember everything. You don't remember everything.
No.
Especially if you're really being the characters, you shouldn't remember everything.
Was it similar to when you did the World of Warcraft series?
Not at all.
Okay.
Why would you think they were dubbing is different than
No,
doing
no, no.
games?
No, I mean like recording wise, was it the same? It's like acting is doing video.
Different.
Okay.
Different. Not even, no, dubbing is the worst. It is the worst. You don't get a lot of creative freedom. You have to match what's already animated, and it takes a lot of work. There has to be a great script, a great director, and you have to dial everything into what you see. And it's still not. You still can't be perfectly natural because it can't be perfectly natural to match something that already exists. But games, all the Ural in World of Warcraft, are you kidding me? And Blizzard money? So Blizzard gives me process. I show up for the job at Blizzard. Ironically, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn plays my character's sister in that scene. So it's funny that you brought up that scene. Yeah, so I get all the process in the world. The writer is in on the call, the director is there. We get all the time in the world to dial in the character, to find the exact placement. We create all sorts of backstory and all. It's so juicy. Like, you don't get that kind of stuff in very many sessions, but Blizzard always, with Andrea Toyas at the helm. Oh my God, you get all the acting stuff you need. I love working for Blizzard. That's my favorite game company to work for because they give me process for days. So yeah, not even the same thing, because the very first thing I recorded with Ural was a very heightened emotional scene, and they gave me all the time in the world, and they gave me, like, they painted the picture. I knew who I was talking to. I knew where I was. I did not have to make up my emotions because the way the scene was being built around me and all the information they were giving me, I could feel where my character was, and my character just got there. My character felt what my character needed to feel because we created the whole scene, and it was believable in my creative imagination so strongly that the character just felt what she felt. I remember they took the first take.
Is it safe to say, like, based on what you told me with dubbing, that you prefer American animation to anime, or that's not?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, freedom. Yes.
Creative freedom.
Why you don't get, first of all, the pay for dubbing is shameful considering it's the hardest thing to do. It is the hardest thing to sound like a natural character while matching a completely, like, a vowel based language, and that you have to match the pattern, so immediately you're stuck to a tune because you have to match the articulation of the character. It cannot be natural. I mean, people get it to as natural as they can, and honest to God, the real shame of dubbing is how poorly they pay the localization teams. Because if they paid the writers better, the writers would have the time and the space to create something gorgeous. But because the writers they don't get the money and they don't get the time, it's really quite horrible that they can do only the best they can do while having to pump out script after script after script. And then the actors with the director have to rewrite stuff in session to make it fit because they didn't pay the writers well enough to get it done properly. So it is a brutal industry, the dub industry, and not enough money goes on for the amount of attention most of these dubs get. So I'm glad that there's coalitions to get better pay for all the people in that dub universe. So until they get that, until the amount of money goes into that deserves to be there so that the quality can really be there, yeah, I much prefer animation and video games where I am free to express myself in any pattern, any way, any rhythm, any emotion that I feel as the character. I don't have to force into somebody else's squish. I'm not here to regurgitate somebody else's performance. That is not acting. I'm here to creatively create even if it's a foreign game, and a lot of Japanese games, they still let me localize the character so the character felt like they were from here and they were reacting like they were from here. And I know that pisses off a lot of dub people. They're like, you should have matched the original. Like, no, that's why they call it localization. They want it local. If you want the original, watch the original. I honor the original actors, the original performance, but I am not trying to match them or recreate their performance. That's up to that actor to do that. I am hired for my character, and my character will perform how they want to be in that scene.
Totally agree. And let me just say that before I ask the next question, I just want to say that what you just said was truly inspiring, though. Like that passion, I just loved, like when you just talked about that. And I agree with you, because why would you want to have? And I've seen plenty of American dub animes where like their voices are not matching. Like you have this one guy freaking out, like anime wise, and then the voice is just a very calm voice. Like why would you? It doesn't match the scene. Like so,
Exactly.
I get it. I totally understand, like the like, because I personally don't really, the only anime I ever liked was Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, and to a lesser extent Tenchi Muno. But yeah, I totally agree. Like, because I've seen a lot of animes that where they don't match, and it's frustrating. It's
It is.
very frustrating because like
And I know it's frustrating for those actors. I know those actors didn't like having to do that. I know they wanted to match the picture and wanted to give it authenticity and make it as real as possible. And the actors want to, they just don't have the budget or the time to let us.
it's terrible. And also I got to ask you from a acting perspective too. And this one I ask a lot of actors in the voice acting business. And that is when Kirk Douglas was on The Simpsons, and in the auto commentary episode for one episode, they said that while in the booth, Kurt hated wearing headphones when recording his lines because it hurt his ears.
I don't wear headphones when I record.
My question.
I have to for dubbing. You have to. But I don't like wearing headphones at all. I find it limits my performance, and then it forces my body to think that it's in a booth. My body wants to be the character. The character is not wearing headphones. Mm-mm.
Okay.
So if most of the time I'll take off the headphones if I can. COVID ruined that for me because all of a sudden everything was remote and I had to wear the headphones to hear the director. So that pisses me off. So when I go in to record, if I have to keep headphones on, I have the engineer turn my mic off. I do not hear myself. If I'm wearing headphones, I don't hear my own performance. You cannot hear yourself and not direct yourself while you're performing.
Oh.
And my job is not to direct myself because, first of all, it's arrogance upon arrogance thinking that you know how to direct your character. Like, you're an actor, be your character. The director's job is to direct. It's not your job to direct your performance. And if you're directing your performance, then you're not being the character. You can't do both at once. You have to either be the character or you direct. You can't. I can direct myself after I've been the character, did my performance, and then I listen back and I go, I'm going to make these adjustments. That's different. But if I'm hearing myself while I'm performing, there's a delay that's happening in my performance, and I can hear it in any actor who listens to themselves while they record. I can hear it in their performance. I know the ones. I can hear it because there's a little bit of a delay. There's a little bit of a slowing down. There's a little bit, it's not as organic as it could be. And the people who don't hear themselves, you can tell because it feels so electric.
Would you ever try, if you most likely have tried this though, but have you ever tried with one in the ear and then
Yeah, I never do both cans.
Okay.
No, I only have one. But again, I still don't listen to myself. I'll have one can on so I can hear the director. That's it. The only reason I wear a headphone is to hear the director.
Oh.
Not me. I never want to hear me. And the engineers can turn it off so I don't hear me at all. I never want to hear me. Not ever.
And it's not possible to work both on and off screen. Like you can't do the voice in and then direct at the same time, right?
I feel like I can hear it when people are.
Okay.
So when people, and especially people who aren't like, okay, maybe a seasoned actor, maybe a really experienced actor, and they're doing a character they know really, really well. And like, there have been times where I've had my voice in my cans. It pisses me off. And I know my performance isn't as, I'm not enjoying acting as much when I'm hearing my performance at the same time, because it's like an echo. You know what I mean? I want to be acting, and acting is believing you are the character and reacting accordingly how the character feels in that moment. Performing is sounding like the character and sounding like you're feeling like a certain thing. I never want to be performing. A lot of actors just perform. Performing is entertaining people, but they don't feel anything. Acting is being a character so authentically and feeling what the character is feeling that the audience feels it too.
Totally agree. And I definitely was curious to know this, Erin. I got a couple more questions before we wrap up.
Hmm.
And I always called you the real life Nas, and I'll tell you why. Because you look similar to her, and you have a similar, like based on interviews I've seen, you have this very laid back, chill personality, which I find very inspirational. And I've always said that you're two kinds of inspirational, Miss Fitzgerald. You are the regular kind, and then you are the as May Kanker, you are the hilariously inspirational one too.
I am a mixture, a perfect balance of Naz and May Kanker. Both of them are me on any given day. My Naz side came out a lot more moving to California. Even Danny noticed it. He said it himself. I'm way more Naz since I moved to California. But May Kanker is definitely like she's my ADHD side. She's my emotional side. She's my, yeah. They're both inside of me all the time, every day.
I was gonna say like that was gonna my next question too, but was do you see yourself more as May or as Naz? But then you explained that you're both like on any given day. And
Yep. I try to be more Naz on an interview.
oh, you're awesome. um, and of course, memories of working the Tekken series.
Don't remember.
Okay. And of course, any current project you're doing right now.
What am I doing? What am I doing that I'm Charcy from Diablo Immortal. So if you play Diablo Immortal and you upgrade your weaponry, I can't remember the world that I live in, West something or other. Anyway, yeah, I'm Charcy, and that has been glorious. I effing love Diablo Immortal's Charcy. I love her. Ural is now in everything. Ural that started in World of Warcraft, then in Heroes of the Storm, is now in Hearthstone. Like she's everywhere now. I love that for her. I'm Innie Stormcoil in the Hearthstone series, and I love playing Innie Stormcoil. So that's been gorgeous. Um, I have stuff coming out in the fall. There's a lot more Storybots content to be released soon. So this little girl, you should be seeing a lot more of, hopefully fall, Christmas time. But I don't know what Netflix's schedule is. I'm very excited for the new content. It is it is even better than the original stuff, and the original stuff got 27 Emmy nominations. So I'm very excited to see where that, because I've been working on this stuff for the last 2 years. It has been gorgeous. I feel like yeah, those are the juicy bits that I'm allowed to talk about.
Okay, that's all cool. But Mazel Tov though on the
Thank you.
success. And of course, before we conclude, this is the part of the interview because my show is an open forum. This is the part. It's kind of like open mic night, where this is the part where my guest stars could talk about, promote, hype, and just literally say anything they want. The floor is yours, Miss Fitzgerald. I am actually passing you the proverbial microphone.
I don't do that. I mean, my crap is here. There's my crap. Um, I do a one-woman show that we're still in process of. We're working with the WB to get the full rights so that we can tour it. But it looks like possibly a part of our current contract with them, as we are working to a bigger contract with them, is that I get I think 2 more performances with it, and so it's a one-woman show, possibly Philadelphia in the fall, but if it's not Philadelphia, it'll be Portland. It's a one person. You just follow me on the Twitter, because Twitter is where I post everything, and Twitch is where I announce stuff. Yeah, so that, and then maybe one more performance in Los Angeles before the year is over. It's a really hard show. It is my opus. I play 27 characters. There's 90 pages of dialogue that I have memorized. There's no sets, no costumes, no props. It's just me doing everything. So it's like running a marathon. The last performance, I tore my calf, and it's been a month, and I just started walking again this week. So that should tell you how physical the show is. And it's hard. I can't do 2 nights in a row yet. It's really hard physically for me to do. So right now it's only one-off shows. So I'm excited. It's called The Wonderful Woman of Oz. I act out the entire Wizard of Oz by myself. You're welcome. Um, so yeah, that's a thing that you can follow, because that should hopefully, if we can work things out, it'll be the next 10 years of my life doing this, popping up all over the place, all over the country, in different countries. Um, and then I Twitch streamed for fun, just for fun. So if you play video games, come and backseat drive me, because I can't stand figuring things out myself. Please tell me what to do. I am an actor and I need direction. And yeah, I love my job. I love my job. So I don't really need to promote my job, because I feel like, I think Skullgirls is killing it this weekend at Evo, which I'm super proud of. I play a lot of Skullgirls Mobile. That is my current addiction, video game wise, is Skullgirls Mobile. I'm deep into it. I'm deep into it. I'm garbage, but I'm building my characters up so that they're so strong that they're OP, that it doesn't matter that I'm trash. That's my strategy. It's working for me. I think that, I don't know. That's it. I don't know what to promote. Me. Bleh.
Oh man, can I just say too before we conclude though that part of the reasons I formed the conception of this show was as a way to thank thank the actors, like anyone I have on my show, for all the memories they gave me as a child. And I could say, I can also tell you thank you for not only giving me those memories as a child, but also thank you for such a great interview. And I waited since I was a 9-year-old boy to tell you this, and now I can actually say this, and that is, you are an inspiration. You are one of my favorite voice actresses of all time, because you make people believe, you make people feel. And I felt like when May Kanker cried in Hanky Panky Hullabaloo, when she was screaming, yeah, it was supposed to be funny, but when you said lamb chop, and then it was like turtle dove, it's like, I know it's supposed to be funny, but it was really a really emotional.
I felt it.
I
I
felt it.
felt it.
And you're one of those rare breeds, Miss Fitzgerald, where like you make the audience feel like, and I felt
Thank you.
and
That is the goal. I know I don't do that all the time. So that it means a lot to hear that, because that is always the goal every day. That is my goal every day. And that's why I love this craft, because you can't master it. All you can do is try to re-win being in the moment every single day. Like every day is the challenge to try to get to that place. And I love that's so validating. I really am so grateful for that feedback. Thank you, because that's very validating. I need to hear that. Even 30 plus years into this career, I still need to hear that I do it sometimes, that I am successful at trying to do that. Thank you.
Fitzgerald, you're one of the best. I can honestly say that it's like hard to find actresses in general these days that can tap on raw emotion and make people believe and feel like this is real, like a storyline. Like I said this to many like actresses on the show, but like like, and everyone I had was just excellent at raw emotion, and you being one of them. Like you could really tap into raw emotions. You could make a person feel excited, happy, scared, and that's the one thing I really wish most voice actors and actresses had.
Well, I think calling it voice acting has really been a disservice, since that name has shown up, because a lot of people show up thinking that it's about voices, and it's not. It's about characters and acting. So anybody who's voice acting is, if they're not doing the training for acting, because the acting is what makes you feel, right? So that's really important. Like when I played Wakaba in Persona 5, we made sure to book those sessions on a Friday, because we knew that I was going to go all out as this character, and I wasn't going to, and she was awful. She was a dark, horrible character to play, and very screamy and abusive, and just dark, really abusive. Like she was evil. She was an evil character to play. So a Friday was perfect, because then I got the weekend to release her and make sure that she didn't come home with me, and I needed the vocal rest after, because she was so screamy. Because I let her scream. I let her scream in ways that I would never let a character scream for vocal health, but because of where she needed to be emotionally, I let her. And the production company, PCB, were so great with booking me on a Friday so that I could authentically represent that character. You know what I mean? So again, the acting part, you got to be strong advocate for your acting and what you need to do. And you need to practice that privately at home. That acting isn't about performance. Acting is about creating believable characters. That's all it is. It's creating believable characters.
Would you say, like, is it storytelling another word for that or no? Like, as an actor portraying that character and they're telling a story?
No, an actor, a character is a tool used to tell the story, but it's not your story to tell. It's the writer's story to tell, the director's story to tell. You are the tool. You're the instrument that helps tell the story, but you're not making it up. However, when you're creating the characters, each character has their own story, their own backstory. Now, the character that I have for Raven, who she played in the show, there was a character I already had created, who already had her own backstory. Her like, it wasn't Raven. It was a different. She has a different name. She has a different story. I show up with my characters already developed, with their own backstory of who they are, and then those characters, fully developed as themselves, audition for the roles. And then the made up backstory I create merges into the character and the IP and the story that the writer created. You know, you gotta, so storytelling is in there, but your job is to be an instrument to do what they need you to do to tell the story properly.
I understand. And two last things before we wrap up, and that is one, I absolutely loved your role in Ed, Ed, Eddie, the episode Home Cooked Ed, and I loved your delivery when Johnny 2x4 took the plank back, and you're like, "Give me back my back scratcher!" And I'm like, "Oh man, Ellen just nailed that." And
well, know that Danny made sure I nailed it.
I just loved how you said it, like, "Give me back my back scratcher!" It's like, oh, the energy, the passion, that's what I love. And also, before we conclude, there's one thing I've always wanted to do, and I felt like you deserve it, and that is thank you, Erin. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Erin. But in all seriousness, though, thank you for such an amazing interview. Thank you for the childhood memories. I've been a fan of your work since I was a 9-year-old little boy, and talking to you right now makes me feel like I'm 9 again.
Yay! Oh, yay! Thanks for having me, Peter. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm going to send you a copy of this interview right away when it's finished. Have a good night, Miss Fitzgerald.